My truth that's expressed through this piece is that I am an angry black woman. I am, and I don't think that I'm alone in being an angry black woman. I don't think I'm alone in being an angry woman, an angry feminine person.
But have you ever thought, what if this is all just a dream? Have you ever thought?
Hi, my name is Faith Marie Lewis. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, and I currently reside in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm a recipient of the Black and Brown Artist Grant for the year 2024, and my project was the HeartSpace Poetry Project. So, the HeartSpace Poetry Project is an initiative to engage communities creatively, particularly communities that are Black and Brown. And this is to inspire conversations and to create mental health support networks. So, it started as a way of wanting to help people be able to express themselves and create dialogue about some of the social issues, but also triumphs that we experience in our day to day lives, whether it's on an individual level or a political societal level. And so this project came into fruition during the ArtsWave grant project by allowing me to work with a group of teenage black girls within the Cincinnati region and help give them a platform in order to share their poetry. And so a lot of the themes, for example, focused on their experiences within girlhood, their experiences as far as their sexuality, their experiences with their bodies, the being policed, mental health, their identities, and so on and so forth. So it was really empowering to be able to help create that space for these young women to be able to express themselves and to watch their community show up for them. At the end of it, we had three winners, and these winners will go on to work on other projects within the city with other poetry professionals who were present as well. And so after working on that aspect of the project, it kind of culminated into a visual piece where I wanted to take some of those themes that cropped up during the poetry performances, but also as my own experience, because a large part of it was about the expression of anger and emotions, in which a lot of girls and women, particularly Black girls and women, are taught is inappropriate and aggressive, and as a masculine trait that's not valuable within women and feminine people. And so it was important for me to be able to show that within rage, there's also compassion. There's also a place for advocacy. There's a place for change. And I wanted to communicate that not only through the Heart Space Poetry Project, um, by providing a space for these girls to share their stories, but also within the final piece by kind of culminating some of the written pieces by Black women who have inspired me, such as Maya Angelou, Brittany Cooper, who wrote Eloquent Rage. And then there was also another writer called Soraya Chamek as well, if I remember her name correctly, who wrote Rage Becomes Her, which is the name of the final piece, which is actually a work in progress. So I'm looking forward to building upon it. And I think that's one of the things about anger is that when we analyze it more and more, we get to find different kind of roots and pathways on what's influencing our emotional response. And it allows us to build kind of like a bigger, more specific picture of our emotional body rather than just the initial reaction, which is what a lot of people tend to pay attention to, rather than the core of what's going on. The final exhibition, um, I'm excited because it took a little brain power for me to decide how I was going to show this visually, because poetry is a very oral kind of like art form. And so the first thing I did was kind of like go to this like fabric store, and I'm just looking at all these different kinds of fabric. And so that's one of the main kind of aspects of the visual work, is that it uses fabric, because I wanted to once again touch on these different textures, these different kind of backgrounds, and these different um, kinds of like cotton, like linen and canvas, and really kind of bring to life that different the way that emotions can be varied, whether it's smooth or rough or bumpy. Or so what the canvas looks like itself, it has is I believe 30 by 34, but it has a stretch of fabric pulled over it as the background. And it has like images of trees. And if you look closely, there's like little foxes running through the background, right? Because foxes are very like sly and like and things like that. And so, and then on top of it, there's an image of a black woman made in my likeness, right? Because I like to do self portraits. I think it's a great way to inspire introspection. And within this figure, you know, from the head up, it's kind of like a portrait from the body, from the shoulders down. She's wearing all black, um, but she's kind of like very exposed at the same time. So she's not covered at all. And she's kind of rising out of these flames, right? And these flames are the source of these flames are the police cars that are surrounding her. And then on top of her head, there's a head wrap that I made out of canvas and different forms, kinds of like cotton fabrics that has a basket of like tomatoes. I wanted it to look like a basket of tomatoes because when people are rioting or protesting or expressing distaste, you know, they throw tomatoes like boo, tomato, tomato. And I love that. And I said that the entire time I was making it. And so it's just supposed to show this dissatisfaction with the way that things are, the way that things have been with state and police violence against Black people, which extends back right to 1619, as well as just this ability to show like, okay, anger has its place. It has its place within Black women and in the female body. It has its place within our society, and our anger like matters, and it can bring change, and it doesn't necessarily have to be palatable or ladylike, right? It can be like she's like very demure with the way she's like kind of looking like this, right? But all around her, there's like these flames and tomatoes, and there's so many other elements I'm looking forward to adding to it to build upon it that I think is going to really enrich just like what it looks like. I really, if you're familiar with Kali Ma, she is um, a forgot if she's Indian or Hindu. She's a Hindu goddess that has a lot to do with like creation, destruction. With and she's like when you see this image of her, it's like she's kind of like badass to be honest. Like she has multiple arms, she's holding swords, and it's not necessarily that. And she's actually like very revered, you know, in this culture, across cultures, really, even people outside of the Hindu religion look at Kali Ma as um a symbol of like just feminine empowerment, feminine rage, you know. And so I'm not, you know, the most schooled, right, and like Hindu culture, but one of the writers that once again inspired this project, and I want to make sure that I'm getting her name right. She's actually her name is Soraya Chimali, and she wrote this book called Rage Becomes Her, which kind of goes through the experiences of girls and women when it comes to expressing anger and how we internalize it instead, which results in a lot of social injustices, but as well as chronic issues with our health and our whether it's physical or mental. And so I was like, okay, that would be great to kind of incorporate like Kali Ma, and then which I want to add other arms to there like as well. One of them, she's holding a bolt of lightning. That bolt of lightning is inspired by Oya, who is a Yoruba goddess from West Africa, who is also has roots in other religions and spiritualities of the African diaspora. But she is the goddess of like tornadoes and winds and storms. So also somebody who is very like connected with being assertive, being I would say aggressive, but really having this like kind of rage to her, but also once again being like revered. So I want that bolt of lightning. I want those multiple arms, and I'm still thinking about what else is going to be on her hand. Maybe I'll add another tomato in her hand, and then there's going to be another poem I hope to inscribe by Maya Angelou, and this poem is called The Mothering Blackness, which when I read it, I was like, this is perfect. So I want to incorporate that too, maybe along the borders with some more cloth strips or some like white paint marker to make it have that graffiti feel, to kind of bring some more of that urban touch into it. With the accompanying piece, I made with fabrics which are hung over a room divider that's made of wood. And I really wanted to work with fabric. It's something that's been interesting me for a while. And it kind of reminds me of like the connection that Black people and really the United States has with cotton, right? And how important it's been to like the basically the tapestry of our nation, right? And our also our social relationships and who we are as people. And then I also was thinking about kind of the freedom quilts that are a popular um, topic amongst like the when it comes to speaking about the Underground Railroad and whether or not they played the role in helping lead people, enslaved Black people to freedom when it came to traveling the Underground Railroad. So I've been wanting to kind of I wanted to make a quilt. Instead, I took these pieces of fabric and onto them I trying to transpose like different writings. It was poems by myself that I've made over the years. There were poems by Maya Angelou, such as like I Know Why a Caged Bird Sings, A Mothering Blackness. There were quotes by Brittany Cooper, who wrote Eloquent Rage, A Black Woman's Superpower. And then there were also, I believe, some quotes from Soraya Chamali as well. And so I kind of hung those over. And really, that's one of the things is that if I had been able to do this as a performance piece, I wanted it to look like a vanity, like an armoire, like somebody's getting dressed behind this and I'm performing these pieces. Um, while you kind of get to see like the painting, and there would be a stool, for example, and then there would be like maybe a basket. I would have liked to have like some cotton or clothes in there just to kind of have this bedroom feel where you're getting this kind of intimate insight as somebody's processing like their emotions of the day. And I wanted to get like these window frames when you're looking through the window and there's another art piece behind there. So ideally I'll be able to bring it back and have it more full-fledged, but that's what the room divider was for, is one to be able to showcase those fabrics, but also because it's starting to build into this desire to have this feel of like anger as an adornment, right, as something that we can wear and show and express in the way that we would wear clothes or the way that we use fashion. It's just like what role is it playing, and how do we like perceive it, whether it's hidden behind like the divider or out front and personal, with like in the painting. My truth that's expressed through this piece is that I am an angry Black woman. I am, and I don't think that I'm alone in being an angry Black woman. I don't think I'm alone in being an angry woman, an angry feminine person, angrily whatever, however you identify. I think that a lot of people, especially those who have been assigned female at birth, are taught to suppress the way that they feel. And I did that so long throughout my life that it came to a point in my adulthood where it became harder to regulate my emotions because I realized what I thought was emotional regulation was emotional suppression. And so then it's like, as an adult, having to start that journey of developing this kind of maturity and to be able to look closely at what you're feeling and to be able to dissect it. I intellectualize a lot, right? But some of the challenge for me is to be able to feel it freely and to be able to do it in a way that's responsible and that's where I can remain accountable even in the present moment that I'm feeling it. So that's why it's present. I've also had interactions with the police as well, from a young child, whether it's being like pulled over with my like a family member in the car, and it was being my first kind of contact with them, to watching the videos of Trayvon Martin in the news, around the years that a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement started to gain traction, to kind of some of the more current protests with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and things like that. And then once again, my own experience in which I was accosted by police on campus after I had been identified as a student at the university, and the situation was escalated as I was being like, yelled at, and there was some aggression present. That and I eventually it led me to be arrested for trespassing on a campus that I had been going to for 6 years, right after having given permission by staff to be there with my emotional support animal, which had led to that interaction. So, and after that I just didn't know what, I felt like it was wrong, right, to express my anger. I've had a few more situations since then where I realized that it's because I'm a Black woman, it's because I'm a woman, and it's because I'm Black, depending on the situation, right, because this can also happen within communities as well. That we're police and that we're expected to contain ourselves when we're facing an injustice or a discomfort that we want to advocate against. I would say do it scared. And that sounds like so easy. Do it scared. And even if it's like when you're angry, because I feel like anger, some of that within the anger is a fear, right? That our boundaries have been overstepped, that we're going to have to be on the defensive and things like that. Or if you want to be an artist, or if you want to be part of a conversation, that there's an anxiety that you don't have anything to add, or nobody wants to hear from you. And I just think that that kind of approach means that it'll never change, that those spaces will also always continue to exist. There had to be somebody who was willing to disrupt the status quo, who was willing to disrupt kind of those inner voices that want to contain us and hold us back, because that's what we heard growing up. So I would say do it scared, and I would say own your anger as well, and own it in a way that it can make a change, the change that you want to see, and a change that's hopefully beneficial for the collective, even if it's just holding other people accountable for the way that they treat you and the way that they perceive you, and take ownership that at the end of the day, your life, your path is your own. When it comes to being an angry Black woman, right, who wants to express her anger and encourage other Black women and other women of color and people assigned female at birth to really own their emotional body and to express it without worrying about making other people feel uncomfortable. I think it does come with the lightness, because you shed the burden of having those expectations and internalizing them and then weaponizing them against yourself. And it kind of helps create this mindfulness. And so, one of the things that I've been focusing on, I've always been like this. I've always been more reserved. I'm the oldest daughter of like 6 children. So, I've always been more reserved. I think it's those moments when I do have to feel my emotions that I find that I need the most balance. And so, that comes with me being able to also notice what is like required. When will my like anger or my rage benefit me, right? Because if I'm giving it to somebody who wants to exploit it, then it really kind of does nothing for me. And I think it does help me go throughout the day where I'm like, that annoys me, but it doesn't work me up in the way that it used to, which is definitely helpful during rush hour traffic. But yeah, it does come with the lightness, and it also comes with the frustration, because when you start to know better, you have to start to kind of like act with a little more accountability for yourself, because you know that you want to express yourself or be a certain way, which can be frustrating, right? Because we're still human. So yeah, right now I would say, because we're in a space where we're having like a dialogue, and because I could talk about this and I've been able to like meditate on it, I've been able to kind of really be more open about speaking on anger. It's more fluid, and I do kind of feel lighter in my day to day, even though I still frequently, right, have my moments of anger, frustration, um, crop up.